Well, I thought it'd be kind of interesting to do a video about how to roast coffee, or one way to roast coffee. Um, I don't have it in here outside, but I do normally use a hand roaster, uh, which does a smaller quantity of coffee beans than what you're able to do with Skillet. Um, so I'm not going to really go into why you might want to roast your own coffee, but the short answer is you're going to get really fresh coffee. Coffee at the store is going to be pretty well stale by the time they roast it, they ship it, and it gets to the store shelves, and it gets to your cabinet and into your coffee maker. It could be 2 3 months old. Where this, you're going to roast it and you're going to wait overnight, and then you're going to be able to brew that, and it's going to be much more flavorful. So definitely something you want to do outdoors. As you can see, there is a skin that comes off the beans. It's called chaff, and it gets on everything. And if you try to do this indoors, not only are you going to get that all over your kitchen, you're going to get that all over. You're going to get smoke. You're going to get this skin all over the place. So it's something to do outdoors where you can kind of sweep it away, blow it away, or run a fan or something like that. Because if you like me and you like a dark roast, you're going to get a lot of smoke off of this. So what I have here, I have some coffee beans. These are from Peru. Of course, you can get all sorts of varieties from all over the place: Africa, different places in South America, Central America, and so forth. I use a butane gas grill. And finally, what I'm going to be doing today is roasting in a cast iron skillet. And this is just an old cast iron skillet that we have. And what I like to do, what I find works really well, and Vietnamese, there's a Vietnamese type roast that you can do using clarified butter or ghee. Use this a little bit of that. Now it's important to not go too crazy with the oils. If you do, what will happen? You're going to get a really oily ground coffee, and if you use any kind of automatic grinder, it's going to kind of clog it up. So just a little bit of oil for that. It needs to be a high smoke point oil. The temperatures that are involved are pretty high, over 400 degrees. So it needs to be an oil that can tolerate the heat. So I'll go ahead and get this started. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get it lighted. Make sure we got a flame there. And right now, I'll just let this warm up. And once your skillet starts warming up, you can go ahead and add a little bit of ghee. And again, you don't want to go too overboard. Of course, this is all slick. It's really good if you have like a dipper, because if you try to pour it in, it's going to run down the sides. So just a little bit of ghee into the skillet. Roll it around. The other thing you probably will need, being that I'm using a cast iron skillet, you probably need an oven mitt, as this thing will get pretty hot. So let me go ahead and do that. And okay, oil is good and hot now, so we want to go ahead and add the beans. And the most important thing when you're roasting your coffee beans is you want to keep the beans moving at all times. And you're going to add about 7 to 8 scoops. Alright, so you don't want to overload, put too many beans in the skillet. And I use something like a whisk. Turn that around here. And you want to keep stirring constantly so that the beans get as even as possible to roast. It won't be perfect in a cast iron skillet, but as long as you keep it moving, you should have a pretty good roast. And you'll notice that the beans will kind of go to like a yellowish look as the sugars break down. Notice that, well, you probably can't tell, but notice there's not a whole lot of excess oil. One clue if you have excess oil is it'll pull up on the sides of the skillet where it's cooler, and I'm not seeing that, so that's good. So just enough to keep the beans from sticking to the skillet. The other thing to keep in mind, if you're not familiar with roasting coffee, coffee will pop. It will begin popping here shortly. There's what's called a second crack. The second crack, the coffee can become quite flammable. So when you're roasting in an open skillet like this, you probably don't want to try and do wait for a second crack. This is what can happen. The whole thing can just go up in flames, and well, there goes your coffee and your roast, and then you got to start all over, put out the fire and all that. So just something to kind of keep in mind. But constantly keep the beans moving. And notice that all the beans are starting to turn yellow. I think it smells great. I love the smell of roasting coffee as much as I like the smell of coffee, so it's pretty cool. Is it more expensive? That's probably another common question. Is roasting your own coffee more expensive than buying coffee? Yeah, well, unfortunately, yes. The beans I get, they're from Spoken Beans Coffee. You can get it on Amazon. Right now, this is probably mostly due to the pandemic shortages. It costs about $32 for 5 pounds. You can buy larger quantities and get a little bit more of a discount. You can get a 12.5-pound bag. So if you could buy in bulk, you will come out better as far as cost. Of course, you have the cost of, well, you got the ghee, you got the butane, the grill, and all that. But, of course, the raw coffee beans, the beans are smaller before they're roasted. So when you roast them, they're going to increase in volume but decrease in weight. So the beans are starting to turn to a light brown. Most of them have turned yellow. You will not get a completely even roast in those cast iron skillet, but you will still end up with a really good roast. The other thing too with the butane fuel, if it is cold in your area, say if it's below 60 degrees, these don't like to work that well. They just can't keep up enough pressure. You start having issues with. You might have a few hop out of the skillet too. It happens. So this is the first crack. So we start hearing the beans pop and crack. A lot more smoke. This is why you don't do it indoors. Yep, you have a couple escapees. So at this point here, we're pretty much up to like a light sort of at a light roast right here. So if you like a light roast, you probably should have stopped here just a minute ago, because it kind of goes quick. It goes pretty quickly from light to medium to dark as this all starts really heating up. There we go. We're almost there. Definitely use clarified butter instead of plain regular butter. The milk solids will get burnt, and it will ruin your roast. So make sure you use clarified butter, also known as ghee. It's probably ghee at your store. And you'll get and you'll also kind of enhance the flavor a little. You get a little bit of a buttery flavor with your coffee. Just a hint, not really that strong. All right, we're about there here. So we got a lot of smoke. I want to cut the heat off. And now we're actually getting to that second crack. The second crack here. So I'm going to go ahead and dump this out. The next thing you want to do is you want to have like a wire sort of strainer. And the reason why you want that, you want to get the beans cool. Two things. What will happen is you're going to cool down the beans and get it to stop roasting, and you want to get some of that loose skin off. I'll do that off camera here. Another reason to do it outside, so you'll get a lot of the skin off the beans to kind of get all over the place. So we got a nice dark roast here, and of course I'm going to do several more batches. I'm going to brew at least a quart, and yeah, that's how you roast. That's how you pan roast coffee in a cast iron skillet.